Hello and welcome everybody to our final installment for the fall quarter in our How to Get Hired webinar series. This week we are focusing on the financial services industry, and we are joined by Jessica Wilson and Shailene Schmidt of Bay Federal Credit Union. Just to give an overview of tonight's event, we will, oh my goodness, I've never had that happen before, sorry. We will be having a presentation, obviously, followed by a Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions for our presenters at any point during their presentation or the Q&A session, you can drop it at the Q&A box that should be at the bottom of your screen. And if you see a question that you really want to have answered, you can also upvote it. And yeah, if your question has already been answered, awesome too. So just so that all of you guys know, the session will be recorded and uploaded to the Career Success Team's YouTube channel. And everybody who pre-registered for the event will have a link automatically emailed to them, but otherwise you can just look out for that. So yeah, without further ado, I will let our presenters take it away from here.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I think Jessica was able to join. She was having some technical difficulties. Let's give her a minute to see if she can hop on. I will share my screen with everyone. Okay. Can you see my screen, McKenna? Is that good? Perfect. All right. So I will get started, Jessica, if you're out there. Hopefully you can join. It lets you hop on and everything. Thank you, everyone who's joining us. My name is Shailene. There's Jessica. Yay! So my name is Shay. I'm the HR generalist at Bay Federal. I've been here 4 years now. Before joining Bay Federal, I did recruiting up in Sacramento for a company. So I'm super excited to present with Jessica on getting hired in financial services.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Shay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It says that there's 2 Shays, so that's fun. You can decide which Shay you like better. I'm Jessica Wilson. I am the Employee Engagement Manager for Bay Federal Credit Union. I've worked there for about 2 years and I love it. I've worked in human resources for about 15 years and we're really excited to share with you today.
Awesome. So we'll jump right in. Our presentation is on the shorter side and then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. So who are we and what do we do at Bay Federal? We're a local credit union. We were started in 1957 by 8 teachers. They pooled their money together so another teacher could afford a crib. So as a credit union compared to a bank, we are not for profit and we're member owned. So we try to give our members the lowest and best rates that we can. We are open in Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties. We have branches in Salinas, Watsonville, Freedom, Aptos, Capitola, downtown Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley. I think that was 7. And then we also have 2 back office locations in Capitola and Live Oak. So there's a lot of different job opportunities here, whether that's, front facing in the branches or in the back office.
So positions at Bay Federal, at us, we're a financial institution. We have the back office, which is some companies would call that headquarters. And then we have the front office or front facing, which is our branches, as Shay was saying. Our teller position is the entry level position, and that you can find at any bank. Here we call them MSRs. They have growth into personal banker or a management position within the branch, but they also have growth into the back office depending on what you might be interested in. Back office departments and positions are in marketing, human resources, the call center, technology operations, finance, and accounting. And then every year, this year's obviously been a little different, we have an annual finance and accounting internship for the summer where students who are in their junior or their senior year, they can come and learn what it's like to work in a finance and accounting department.
Awesome. So a brief overview for the hiring process, specifically at Bay Federal. Candidates will apply through our website or job boards where our postings are. A recruiter, Jessica or I, will screen the resumes and we pass qualified candidates along to the hiring manager. The hiring manager looks over the resume and they let us know if they'd like to have a phone screen conducted. And at that point, Jessica and I reach out to the candidates and we conduct a pre-screen interview over the phone. If all goes well, you're invited in for an interview with the hiring manager in a panel. What the panel consists of, sometimes it's made up of the team members that are in that department or the business partners that you would be working with. After the interview process is reference checks. This is where we love to see previous managers or supervisors, previous coworkers that you've worked with. Not the right time to put your best friend or your previous roommates. We definitely want people that can speak to your job experience. And then an offer letter is extended, and after that, we conduct a background check.
All right, so we're going to break down the different parts of the hiring process individually. So the first is obviously your resume, which is the most important part of the hiring process because it's the business's first look into who you are as a candidate. So it's important that you pay attention to the things that managers or recruiters look for. So we always like to see an address so we can know if you're a local candidate or a candidate from afar. You want to make sure that your resume is always up to date. This is something that's just an important practice to do as you change jobs or you change different things that you're doing within your job, different skills. You want to make sure that those are listed and that you keep it running and up to date. You want to have your work history and your longevity listed and really tailor your resume to focus on whatever job it is you're applying for. You can have a couple different versions of your resume if you'd like. But for example, if you were going to apply to Bay Federal and you wanted to be a teller and that job focused on cash handling and Excel skills or customer service, you'd want to make sure that your resume talked about those things so that when either the system finds your resume or the recruiter or manager finds your resume, they see that you have those qualifications. You want to be careful of gaps in work history. Sometimes we can't help those, but you definitely want to be prepared to explain those gaps in work history. And then, of course, you're all working hard, going to school, getting your degree. And a degree is really, really helpful in finding a job and progressing in your career. And so you want to make sure that you list that as well.
So now I'm going to go over some common resume mistakes so you guys can learn from these and make sure you don't make them. The first is grammar and punctuation. So Word is great. It has spell check for you. Definitely use it. You want to make sure you're spelling everything correctly and using correct punctuation. If you guys have an objective statement on your resume, make sure that it's accurate for the position that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a teller position at Bay Federal, don't have your objective statement say that you're looking for a front desk position at a hotel. Make sure that you're checking that and updating it for each position. Forgetting to put dates on for your work history. So let us know where you worked and how long you worked at each place. And then listing skills that you can explain. So if you guys have learned some nifty Excel skills or tips and tricks and you list those on your resume, be prepared to explain them and talk about that in an interview or if you're asked about it. Formatting errors kind of goes with grammar and punctuation. Make sure everything's lined up and formatted correctly so everything is indented and in line where it should be. The resume, try to keep it under 2 pages. If you guys are really new to your professional career, I think 1 page is accurate and good. But if you have a lot of different positions you've worked, try to keep it to 2 pages. And then if you guys have gotten promotions with the same employer, it looks nice if you list the employer once and each promotion that you've had underneath them. And then make sure that you guys have a professional email that you're putting on your applications and resumes. So here's examples that we have of Brad Pitt's resumes. On the left is a resume that we think could use some cleaning up. I don't have the chat feature on my screen, Jessica, because I'm sharing my screen. But if anyone wants to comment with some errors that they see, we'll kind of open it up and see what you guys think about the left resume.
Yeah, I don't know that I will see it either, but someone said the email has an inappropriate name.
Yes, Easy Money 81 is not the best email for Brad Pitt to use.
That's good. Are there anybody else see anything?
Okay, so to point out some other things, and these are common mistakes that Jessica and I do see ourselves. So the first bullet point where he was a prop manager, it says July 2018 to current. The next position is just a year range. It doesn't have any dates. Then even the last position's formatted with the dates at the end. The city's all caps in one of them. So it's just little things that you want to make sure you're formatting really nicely. There's no phone number listed on his resume. So you can't just call him back based on his resume, and you don't know where he lives, if he's a local candidate or if he's coming from further away.
And then the other resume on the other side is kind of an updated, exciting version. A lot of people tend to use color in their resume. You don't want to use too much. You don't want it to look like, a bunch of crayons drew all over it. But a little pop of color gives you some individuality. The objective that Brad Pitt has is right on top, which happens to be a quote by himself. And then some of the email and phone features are now clickable, which shows that he's tech savvy. And then things are explained more briefly so that it can all fit onto one page and look really nice. Another thing to point out is that a lot of people now like to see your volunteer and leadership experience, which you can probably explain classes that you've been in school or different programs you've been in volunteering. And those are really good to list on your resume as well.
Awesome.
Okay, so the phone interview, you have made it through the resume screening. They have seen your resume. They feel that you have some skills and they'd like to talk to you about it more. So the phone interview is your first form of contact. And so it's a really important step. I feel like I'm going to say that with all of them, but
they're all important.
They're all important, but the phone interview is going to take you to that next spot. So there's two types of phone interviews. There's cold calls, where a recruiter will just give you a call and say, hey, I've seen your resume. Can we talk about it? Or a recruiter might call you and say, hey, I've seen your resume. We're excited to talk to you. Can I set up a time for later this week? Both are ways that recruiters do phone interviews. Both are okay, but you just want to make sure that you tailor it to yourself. So if you get a cold call from a recruiter and you're driving in your car and they're saying, hey, can you talk right now? It's probably best to say, I'd like to reschedule to another time. It's okay to ask that because you really want to make sure that you're prepared for the position and you're prepared for the conversation that you're going to have because it's your foot in the door. So you want to, once it's scheduled or once you start talking, you want to move to a quiet area. You want to be free of background noise and distractions. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you're in a place where your cell phone service won't drop a call.
All right, so you got past the phone interview. You've been invited in for an in-person interview. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how to avoid common mistakes in the interview process. My first tip for you guys would be research the company and the position that you're interviewing for again before you go in for the interview. That way it's fresh on your mind and you can be prepared to share why you're interested in working for that employer specifically and what qualifies you for the position. And then make sure that you're answering the questions asked. So remember to breathe, take a deep breath. If the question asked seems a little confusing, it's okay to clarify it. And then it's always great to bring copies of your resume, get those brownie points for showing up prepared.
Okay, and then interview etiquette. There's two different types of interviews now. There was Zoom and Skype before. It's not something that was typically used, but now that 2020 has brought COVID, we are adapting and finding new ways to interview. So we'll go over in-person first. That's the kind of interview you want to get if you can. It's just better to have an in-person interview and be able to see people's body language and be able to give eye contact, etc. It's a little bit harder over camera. So if you can put on a mask, if you can meet outside and do it in person, try your best to get that type of interview. You're going to want to dress for the position. That's really important. Even if they say, hey, it's business casual, make sure that you don't have rips in your jeans if they can see it, because you're in person. You want to make sure that you're well presented. You want to shake hands, have a strong handshake. I know it sounds silly, but it's important. Probably not during COVID though. So maybe, 2021, when we're all back to normal, then you can hand sanitize and then give a nice firm handshake. You're going to want to make eye contact. That's really important, and make sure that you're looking at everyone in the room. You want to sit with confidence and also stand with confidence. And then you want to have fun and be yourself. So then for Zoom or Skype, it's a little bit different. You're going to want to, like I didn't do tonight, test your equipment to ensure that it's working. Because there's nothing like having a meeting and everyone's waiting and you're not on. So make sure that it works, make sure it's set, it's in the environment, so that you do a great job. You're going to want to obviously turn on your camera. You're going to want to sit in a quiet room, kind of like the phone interview, same type of thing. Set a background, or have a clean room behind you so you're presenting well. Sit in an area with good lighting. Try to be really mindful of your facial expressions over camera and over Zoom, because people can't see your full body expression. And then you want to still act like you're at an in-person interview. And then above all else, have fun and be yourself. If you're supposed to get the job, if they like you, they're going to hire you for you. So it's just really important to be yourself.
We like to have fun and goof around our interviews a little bit. So good advice. So how to make a good impression. I will say being on time and early for the interview is more so right now an in-person tip or trick. The Zoom and Skype etiquette has kind of become more of showing up on time. There are waiting rooms that you can wait in while you're waiting to be let in for the interview, but you don't want to show up like 10 minutes early and just be sitting in the waiting room necessarily. But definitely for in-person, get there early so that way it shows that you're punctual. Have questions that you're prepared to ask after the interview when the panel turns it over to you. Bonus points if you tailor them to the panelists. Jessica and I, when we do interviews, we send our candidates confirmations. We let them know who's going to be in the interview, what their names are, and their job titles. So if you have questions prepared for each person based on their position, it looks really good. You can ask about scheduling expectations, and then you can also ask about the size and dynamic of the team. So anything that you might want to know going into a new position, this is your time to ask it. And then have a notebook with you. Take notes if an answer to your question is something that you want to make sure you're remembering. Be comfortable using the panelists' names once they introduce themselves to you. And then it's great if you email a thank you after the interview, thanking the panelists for taking the time to meet with you.
All right, and then just some challenges that you will face in today's job market, because 2020 has just, with COVID, has changed things a little bit. There's potential for not being able to meet in person, which can be a challenge. Hopefully by the end of this year, we're all going to be really great at being online. So that won't be a challenge, because not knowing Zoom or Skype etiquette will be a downfall and will not help you be successful. So you want to really make sure that in this type of market right now, where we have to be online, that you know what to do and how to be successful in it. And then just because of everything going on, there's potentially less jobs on the market, or it might take longer to get hired for the position that you're interested in. But we encourage you to keep going. I think overall people have been really great at evolving into this new world. And you still have a lot of opportunity to get a job, and you can do it.
And with that, we'll open it up if anyone has questions. This is where I like in-person presentations so we can see everyone's faces, the crowd going wild.
Have everybody like quickly raise their hand and select.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a minute.
We just did so good.
You answered everybody's question.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you guys did really well. Got everything covered. Oh my goodness. Oh, we have a question. Okay. What would you recommend for someone who has not had much work experience?
Ooh. Jessica, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. I think it's probably because you're coming out of college. So, and a lot of people don't work while they're in college, which makes sense. And that's the story that you want to tell. That's kind of what we were talking about on the resume, where your resume really is your story to tell about who you are. And then you can also use classes or things that you've done within the community that correlates to that position.
Yeah.
So you can write a cover letter, or you can have things in your resume that state like, you did work here for a certain amount of time, or you worked with customers volunteering here. Those always work.
Yeah, I agree. I would say like if you don't have that much experience, but you're really interested in working for like the finance or accounting department, we have a lot of employees that we hire in as tellers. That's kind of like our entry level position to the credit union. And then once you kind of get your foot in the door with those more entry level positions, there's a lot of growth opportunities. And I think that's similar with other companies. So if maybe you feel like you don't have the experience for the exact position you want, I wouldn't get discouraged by that, but just keep an open mind to other opportunities where you're gaining that work experience and you can build up your resume for the opportunities that you really want. And then just highlight the stuff that you've learned, like Jessica said, what you've done in your classes, your volunteer experience, the skills that you've gained outside of a work setting, just highlight those on your resume.
Okay, awesome. I'll give it another minute for more questions to trickle in. But I'm just gonna pop in with a question that I see pop up a lot, at least in previous webinars. And it has to be definitely, what is your favorite part of your job?
Oh my gosh, I love everything. I'm gonna be honest. I get asked that in interviews a lot, but it's really the culture at Bay Federal. It makes me happy to come into work every day, or even being remote right now. It's logging in, seeing my coworkers, and just the way they treat employees. That's what I love. I love what I do in human resources, but I also love where I work, which is more important, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like you can do our work probably anywhere, because there's always a need for HR. But I've never worked for a company filled with so many good people that are really smart. It's a really cool culture to be a part of, where you know that people are going to find the solutions for things, but we're going to have a ton of fun doing it together.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. All right, well, we'll still give it some time for more questions to trickle in, but yeah, I think you guys definitely had like a full coverage presentation there.
Awesome. We wanted to cover all the points we would want to know, so we did our best.
Shay and Shay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think then if we're all good, I can just close up. I think we're good on questions right now.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, of course. I'll do just a little quick final slide. Just to everybody, before you head out, you will have a survey that will open up as soon as you close. So please fill that out so that we can make these events as awesome as possible. And thank you to Shailene and Jessica for joining us. Thank you guys so much. I hope all of you guys have a happy fall and fall quarter and continue to do well. Bye. Have a great night, everybody.